The narrow path over the turgid river of life. Did you see my chat with Brian Stavely this morning? That was actually 3 pretty productive hours, I have to say. Well, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm gonna give out some flyers, see how that goes. You know, people don't dig the camera in the face thing, so I try not to push it too hard. Hello. Hi. I've got some information for you. Hi, ma'am. Would you like some information? Don't all want it. Can I give you some information? About how last year was no pandemic, you know, because the death rate was the same last year as the year before. Did you know that?
How last year was no pandemic?
Yeah.
But there is pandemic.
What defines a pandemic?
Pardon?
What defines a pandemic?
You can define it
Because you know. No, well, if you came to me and said there's a pandemic, I'd say, well, what's your evidence of that? What would be your kind of, you know, red line that you wouldn't want to cross? You say, look, this is a point at which it's just normal death rate, and this is a point at which it's pandemic, in which we start doing things that constrict our lives. We give up free breathing, all these sorts of things. You would surely, if I was coming to you as a businessman saying, look, I've got a proposition for you. If you invest 500,000 Rand, I'll guarantee you 100% return of investment in 1 year. You'll get another 500,000 Rand. But if at the end of the year I said to you, sorry, it was only England and South Africa. But if I came back to the end of the year and said, there's only 5,000 Rand of profit, wouldn't you demand to look at the books and say, how's that possible? You promised me 500,000 return on my investment, I get 5,000. That's not acceptable. Well, I'm offering it to you, ma'am, that the death rate in South Africa was in 2019 was 550,000, and the year after it was 556,000. That's pretty much the same number when you're grown up about it, and you realize 500,000 people, another 5,000, that's not enough to shut the business. So there was no pandemic. There was a pandemic of fear in the mind that there was something that could kill us or exterminate us in unusual numbers.
Sickness.
Excuse me?
You don't count that sickness of people.
Well, do you mean normal sickness or post COVID-19 kind of sickness? Because remember, once you start changing the environment for, let's say you put fish in a tank and you stop putting fresh air into that tank, after a while the fish will die, right? Because you've changed their environment. Well, if you do the same thing to the human, reduce the oxygen, increase the toxic load by adding 10 times of hand gel a day, perhaps adding other things like the needle to the arm, things like that. You start making people, you're changing their environment. And fear, we know, can kill people. Stress can kill people. So if I put you under increased stress, if you're perhaps already frail, an Indian lady told me on the beach on the bluff about a month ago, she said, my father, he was in home frightened for a year and then he died. They called it COVID, but it was fear that frightened him to death. And so when you tell people, your mind can make you well and your mind can make you healthy. When the doctor says you've got cancer, you start to think all sorts of things that could actually make you worse. And so now they've put... Hey you, I'm sorry that video I was recording, for some reason, just stopped midway through that conversation with that lady. It was a really good conversation. You know, she was willing to listen, and she took a flyer. She had a young daughter, maybe 10 or so years old, yeah, I thought that I met her, very. She had this mass. I couldn't help but notice it. This massive stone on her hand. You can tell when someone's really well dressed, that they're not struggling to find money.
Anyway, I mean, that's relevant. Just it was a great conversation, and I'm just sorry that it didn't play out all the way through. I would have liked to have shared that. This you hear people pulling apart the obvious straw man elements of the current debacle, shall we say. You hear that, but these straw man things are simply down the line of there was never a pandemic. I don't even know if I can say that on YouTube, but look, the numbers speak for themselves. This is not CDC guidance or World Health Organization. This is actual statistical facts. One of the things that they might be able to rig elections, but I don't think they can really fiddle over time. You could maybe forward or delay the reporting of certain deaths or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, I'd like to think that the death rates that we that are recorded by our countries are legit. People just keep wanting to kind of carve out a particular slice of the pie or the pizza and focus only on that, when in fact it's the same pie. Weight by weight, it's the same pie. And the other lie, I think, and I'm more convinced, having spoken with Brian Stavely again about it, the 8 inches per mile squared is another lie. Obviously, it doesn't work there is no reality in which we were living and walking underneath a ball, but the 8 inches per mile squared is a diminution or a reduction of the supposed reality that they would like us to live on, they believe that we lived on. When you really unpick the idea that I get to gift myself the primary position right here on the top of the globe, in globe theory, I get to be at 12 o'clock. No matter about you, I've now pushed you, even though if you were talking, you would be at the 12 o'clock position, you would be right on the top. No, for me, you are down underneath. That's where you are. You're down under my feet, 8,000 miles beneath my feet, exactly 8,000 miles beneath my feet. And I am 12,000 miles over the skin of this globe, going to walk 12,000 miles to reach you. I'm going to walk 12,000 miles because that's half of the distance around this imagined ball. So half the distance, 12,000 miles, to meet you and have lunch. And you, preparing this lunch for me, are exactly upside down from my position. Now, it would seem obvious to you it would seem like you are the right way up. That's because relativity would mean that you were cooking eggs for me and what have you, and you were standing the right way up. But for me, where I'm standing right now, you are upside down. Your eggs should be falling to the ceiling, but let's not worry too much about that. We're 6 years old. We're just trying to... I think probably I should rather use the opportunity to say that, we got to maybe do less of the name calling and the bitchiness, I truly believe that the Islamic scholars and Jewish scholars and others that I encountered in Speaker's Corner genuinely believe the dogma that they preach. It may be based in lies and disinformation, or it may be based in truth, infected by lies and misinformation, but these guys are not aware of that. So for whoever's pushing 8 inches per mile squared, I think there's a mathematical formula, and people go, look, it's a theoretical construct, but this is what we're told it is, and for the first 1,000 miles it works. When I put out the comments, when I put it out, or Brian Stavely kindly did a follow-on video to the one I did with him. He did a follow-on video questioning It's sort of picking that story out for his listeners to think about, and they did in the main come back. But those that did come back with, replies like, it works and it's for the first 1,000 miles, and these are the ones that I'd heard all before. So people are simply repeating stuff that other people have told them because this is what I've heard, and I would have said myself. So that doesn't make me bad, or it doesn't make Eric Dubay bad for having repeated, or Mark Sargent for having repeated something that they came across in literature. So I don't see it like that. I think ultimately, I think most people who are doing truth, doing it because and even those who are like anti this or anti that, they're doing it because they actually care about. I think because they care about humanity in the main. I think that. But the local preacher who's got it wrong is, he's not guilty of anything other than having been given misinformation, and then even then, we are in a situation where we tend to choose sides. We tend to favor our home team, as it were. My town, my club, my religion, my skin color, gender. So are we not in a world they call it dualistic? Because it's that, it's this or that. When God is all, God is rainbow. God is black and white, angry and sad, happy and loving. All these things. I abhor what's going on in the world right now, and obviously the 8 inches. People, what does it really matter? Well, I think that actually it does help. Actually, if there was a consensus in flat Earth that actually the curvature formula for the imagined globe theory, which you don't get any globers really standing behind the 8 inches going, yeah, that's our formula, I stand by that. They barely recognize it, right? That's the truth. They barely recognize it. So if we were all much more clear, and had been for the last few years, saying that if you were walking over the skin with a radius of 4,000 miles, which means that your travel from up, the 12 o'clock position down to the 3 o'clock position has to allow for a movement, a physical movement outwards from the center point by 4,000 miles, and then downwards by another 4,000 miles to complete the half turn, the 12,000 miles. It is an 8,000 mile change in attitude, altitude. It's like I'm going down and out. It's very difficult to kind of, we can't recreate that. What's the biggest ball that we could actually walk on, and then very soon when you're on a ball, you're losing. You got the real world reality physics to attend to, and that is that I'm starting to kind of lose my grip, because my ability to stay perpendicular to the center mass of this ball globe in reality is not possible without harnesses. So it's really difficult to kind of but if you were saying to people, look, it's when we imagine ourselves, because that's all we can do with this globe theory, is imagine ourselves needing to kind of walk and visit our friend who is 180 degrees upside down from me, is 8,000 miles beneath my feet, but requires for me to travel 12,000 miles to over the skin, 20,000 kilometers, if metric is your thing. It leaves you with the inescapable thing of it's a 12 and 8 ratio. 12 forward, 8 down. 12 forward, 8 down. And if we'd been pushing that as, this is the reality that you guys are clinging to, you ball lovers, then it would be, so does that mean that, like Mick West, for example, is all just to create like that energy of, oh yeah, look, we're fighting over? Because once you start to defend it, and that's what that's what I've found with people, it makes me think of Glowbusters apparently taking time out for a little while. I'm sorry about that, but I understand why Bob and Co might need a little bit of time out. It's bad enough, having to deal with the sort of the ridiculers from the mockers and the scoffers, as they like to say, the mockers and the scoffers from within the globe religion. But the Flat Earth Church, it also has its fair share of darkness. And, showing up as, really, I don't know, I don't want to be like antagonistic, but it's almost like childish behavior we're seeing. And I know I said the other day that, it's like Bugsy Malone, the world is run by children. Well, just because we found flat Earth doesn't mean we overnight became grown up. And I'm conscious of that myself. How is my own trajectory from child to man? Because I may have fought in a war when I was 19 years old, but that does not make me a man. These veterans love to hang on to their kind of what heroes we are, but boys going to war and killing other boys does not make you a man. It makes you subject, a soul dire, dead soul perhaps. You have to find it yourself. You have to get back that life that you had stolen. So, I think we're all in that. I don't want to be, I'm all Mr. Grown Up, but I'm working on it and endeavoring to be the higher version of myself. And, it's easier for me to say than say for someone like Bob or Jaren, who seems to have had, lots of shit thrown at them. It's and when it gets personal and when it gets, it feels like it's attacking on your family and so on, it can be very difficult to stay out of that, or not emotionally assailed by that. So my thoughts go out to those guys who were being assailed. Like none of us have these pure and perfect pasts, and of course we are all coming through whatever traumas that we were individually inculcated with, or indoctrinated, or damaged by, and that includes those ones that are doing all the name calling and the shill calling and the shit throwing. They too are, traumatized souls, and they will express it in the way that they need to. But it is, Andrea has some of this stuff. She's like, but it's like a mirror going on, And I know that for me, like if I'm doing street activism, I can find myself in a situation where my mood will kind of mirror some of the responses that I get back. If I'm not in the right kind of putting it out there, like I was with that lady, like my heart vibration, my good energy, whatever, was kind of like 6 feet around me. It was big enough to reach that woman. But some stuff, some farm hands here. Morning. This is morning. Good. How are you? Yeah. Oh, nice to see you. I remember. Yeah. Yeah. You had a good time. Yeah. You going to work? All right. Well, nice to see you, man. Yeah, you made your friend. All right.
Yeah, I read your paper.
Yeah?
I read your paper.
You did read my paper? You like it?
Yeah.
Good.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Well, much power to you. Cheers, brother. That guy's from Mozambique. He would love to go back there. And we gave him a lift into town the other day, actually. He lives over here, you know. This farm I'm staying on used to belong to the farmer, but it doesn't anymore. It belongs to another guy who owns 15 farms, something like that. So, gave him a lift to town, and he's from Mozambique. And I said to him, you know, at the start of my truth journey, I gave him a flyer. Start of my, which he liked. That was what his comment was. But start of my truth journey, you know, we're only talking about 2014, where I was going to the barber for haircuts for a few times because I was doing book launch related stuff, Battle on the Lomba book, and I hear Kurdish barber, and he says to me, we were talking about ISIS and Osama was bin Laden was still on the loose, and so he says to me that you know, I said, oh yeah, what is this with you and ISIS? Because I'm like, I was sort of researching religion at that time. I was like very deep into researching religion. Christopher Hitchens was a hero of mine. Can you believe it? Even that wonderful scientist mind bender, what's his name? Oh, the English guy with the grey hair. The Darwinist. Anyway, you'll know his name and you'll be shouting it at me going, oh, I should know it. Anyway, I was watching these people at that time, and that was where my head was at, pre-DMT. You know, and I say to this guy, yeah, you know, I'd learned about Wahhabism. I was like, oh, I know about Islam, a little bit about Islam. And what is it with you guys and this ISIS? You know, like, why are you so like, you know, febrile? Well, so he's ISIS. He says that's the CIA. That's the Americans. And I was so angry with him, man. No way is that the Americans. I mean, at that time there was all the beheading videos. YouTube used to allow the beheading videos, right? Shows you how real they must have been. You know, so yeah, I can't talk about face nappies, but you know, ISIS could behead people and burn them on YouTube back in the day. So yeah, that's ISIS is American. No, you know, even though I'd seen them in Angola, the CIA, you know, I couldn't put two and two together with that, and I wasn't prepared to accept that, you know, our wonderful capitalist kind of example, America, was somehow involved in such despicable acts as to be funding ISIS. So I said to that man, I said to him the other day when we gave him a lift, because he's from Mozambique, and you know, Mozambique is currently being damaged by ISIS. You know, and we know it's a beautiful place, and there's obviously lots of value there. And I say to him, you know, some people say ISIS is funded by America. He says, we all know that. So he took my flyer, he liked it, and you know, the problem I have with my flyer is a little bit like, okay, so what do I do? How do I alchemize this knowledge about who I am and my connection to the Most High? You know, how do I return to sovereignty within my universe when everything is railed against me? Everything is you know, even my friends and family will insist that this system has autonomy. It has the final say over my body and myself and my education, and even like the willingness to kind of say, look, we've obviously got to come here and work and do physical things and so on, but you want to be challenged, you want to have an experience here, but does it have to be on a lie? Does it have to be based on a lie? Can we not tell our children the truth and say, hey, listen, there is no Santa Claus? Your good behavior or not good behavior is going to affect you and those around you, and we're going to have to be responsible for ourselves and all of these sort of things. We're not going to have a boogeyman in the sky be judging down on you, and we're not going to have some other guy who you never met from thousands of years ago, his picture on the wall, and say he's the guy who is saving your ass, rather than no, it's you who's saving your own ass. But you are the inheritors of this. Don't be like spoiling it. Don't be wasting it. This is your. Don't be genetically modifying it all. Don't be doing that. I don't know. I mean, that's why some people say there's an argument for, they need to lie to us so that we do what we need to do. I don't accept that though, and I feel motivated by God's power, by whatever internal messaging connection I have with whatever higher thing I have going on. I feel God's intention in continuing, like that conversation I had with the African lady in the car. She was suitably impressed. I'm barefoot. I don't know if I was wearing a shirt, but but the information and the like that man there expressed right there, he liked the information. It's like, okay, so look, if we are these divine emissaries of the Most High, then we have equal entitlement here. We've got to stop this system of grabbing shortage, and needing to grab and needing to hold and needing to retain and needing to kind of control and needing for this guy to have 14 freaking farms. Let me tell you that the land that you can see, that mountain up there, all of that mountain is his mountain. If you saw the video of those wildlife that I had the other day, that was up on that hill there. So pretty much I think everywhere, you can kind of look around. There is one man, and of course he has a crew like that crew you just saw there, 5 guys or whatever. They will manage, along with some big machines, they will manage this farm on his behalf, and obviously him and the banks take the big crust. Those workers, well, let me tell you guys, they will be working for less than $10 a day, and they will be grateful for it, and their children, they will want to aspire to them having an education which they will probably have to pay something towards, if not all of, and that education will be mostly propaganda designed to demean and diminish and to encourage them to a life of subservience to the corporate chain master. So I think that it's right that people get to know this truth, and it's obvious that the system would prefer for people not to know this truth. I understand why. Like for me, the flat Earth discovery was massive. The 9/11 thing was huge, but then the flat Earth was massive. It's like, wow, they've controlled everything from the Vatican down. Every organization, every monarchy, everything is within that lie, holding that lie, supporting and sustaining a rock ball that doesn't doesn't work in reality. So that, you've got to say, is that's foundational. It means that everything that we were ever given, everything, guys. This is hard for some people to hear, I know, but everything. You can't tell me that you were given something at 5 years old, 6 years old, and that it was the unadulterated truth in this system in which lies are total, in which totalitarianism has pretty much always existed, so cleverly hidden that we never knew it was there, so cleverly hidden that we would send our beautiful young children off on a Sunday, Friday, or a Saturday to be indoctrinated by well-meaning, indoctrinated servants of this system, minions. So we are a long way from healed, simply by finding flat earth, simply by going vegan, simply by spending countless hours meditating and listening to softly spoken men who gently talk about how your experiences might well have a bearing on your day-to-day life. I'm thinking of what's his name? Again, who I'm talking about. It's probably a little early in the morning. The sun is well up. I should be well at it. Guys, I hope that's been a useful little thing. I am sorry that I've been so quiet on the communication front, but I am not yet the master of my own ship. I'm very much my ship is very much in other people's I'm in other people's port. And I'm not complaining about that. It is just that I haven't found the way to be the master of my own ship at this point in time. I'm not saying it should be gifted to us necessarily, but the Bible and these other books are, and it makes absolute sense to me anyway, that I don't need the Bible to tell me this, that God created us, the Most High, Allah creates this place for Himself, itself, to have a great experience, Some might argue that great experience includes all sorts of humbling and all sorts of poverty and all sorts of pain and anguish and suffering and so on. And maybe that's right, Maybe that's right. Maybe the only way we ever truly have the richness of experience is for us to have plumbed the depths and the discomforts of some of this, I think Andrea and I were both kind of agreeing that we, this last few years has been valuable and essential actually for us to walk the path in the direction of the humbling, the humility, the it just can't be given to you on a silver plate. And okay, so we're eternal beings. I think we live, the soul lives on, forever and so on. I think we're eternal beings, but this was meant to be a school. I think this is meant to be a school. It's meant to be a teaching. And most of my friends simply went to sleep, but we all got the same kind of injury. And so I really humbly put it to you that you need, in a way, to embrace the discomfort that we're having to go through right now, in a way, you know, we all wanted the easy ride. Everybody finds out the earth is flat very quickly. Everybody, you know, these things we wanted very much. We wanted, you know, just to, and then, you know, and then it's like, and then turn on the lights and the government goes away and the new world starts with everybody being like, fuck yeah, we're all in it and we're all God's emissaries and we're all, you know, we're going to work towards a common good. That's not how it works, you know. That's unfortunately not the reality. You know, that's just a little bit too Disneyland as well, you know. I think it has to be through the hard yards, and you know, and it's almost like let it come and let the hard yards come and walk them, get up out of bed, you know, go and do that thing, go and do that meditation, go and do that stretch session, go and clean that room or lift those weights or, you know, prepare that thing. I know if you're in the winter in the northern parts of the world, then maybe the energy is to do something different, but really to feel like, yes, this is hard, yes, this is fucking hard and fucking painful and fucking lonely, but it'll be the making of you. It'll be the making of you. And when this is all over, you know, you'll be like, yeah, I got through it strong, together, not broken, not shattered, not psychologically traumatized and alphabetized, vaccinized. You know, so I and not, you know, if you've had to walk that path, but you know, that's what I would say. Like, we are going through a freaking birth process here. Painful, uncomfortable, but go through it, you know. Rather that than give up and say to the doctors, all right, well, you know, just cut me open and take the baby out the sunroof. Be well. And thanks for watching this far. Hope to speak to you soon. Hey, and if you need to reach out to me, I know I'm not always the best at getting back to people, but if you need to reach out to me, it's trinityforman@gmail.com. I'll be happy to just write back. You know, just you can offload your shit on me if you want to. Maybe have a Zoom call, something like that. I do want to thank the Patreons. I know I've left it right to the end and I shouldn't. I do want to thank the Patreons. There have been 2 new Patreons join the group, so thank you. And I wish you all well.